What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast. We are inching closer and closer to the NFL draft, and we did have some news on Tuesday that was relevant for Packer fans. First of all, Tyler Lancaster re-signs with the team. Don't know terms of the deal quite yet, so not going to cover it in great detail, although I will say this. Tyler Lancaster graded out in the positive last year, is basically a net neutral player over the last 3 seasons. That's around a league minimum type of deal. I actually think there's quite a bit of value in that for Tyler Lancaster, and you don't want him being the number 3, number 4 defensive lineman on your team, but if he's the 5th or 6th rotational guy on your defense playing 10 to 12 snaps per game, I actually think he plays that pretty well. And through week 8 to the end of the last season, he only had 1 game graded in the negative. Just a workman mentality, works his ass off, grinds against the run, has some early down value against the run. Not again anyone that's going to be your ultra impact player, but you have to remember you're not filling out your roster with 53 star players. Like, you need to have some versatility and some guys that just are grinders and that can get the job done in the trenches, and Tyler Lancaster is one of those guys. And again, anything over 10 to 12 snaps per game you want to pump the brakes on a little bit. But rotational defensive linemen, especially on early downs, yes, Tyler Lancaster has value, especially if it's at or around the league minimum. So like that deal for Green Bay. 17th game officially confirmed by the NFL. Green Bay will play Kansas City, of course, on the road. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers is the goal here. So that should be an amazing game, but certainly makes Green Bay's schedule a little bit more difficult. And then the NFL hoping to have, full stadiums this upcoming NFL season, which hopefully is the case. Hopefully people will be all vaccinated by then and ready to go, and things are mostly back to normal, which I think we are all cheering for and hoping for. So those are the big pieces of news, but let's jump back into mock draft 1.0 and part 2. So yesterday, if you didn't get a chance, I went through picks 1 through 16. I'll recap those for you shortly. Today, I'm going to be going through picks 17 through 32, including the Packers picks. So my picks from yesterday, picks 1 through 16, the Jaguars get Trevor Lawrence, the Jets get Zach Wilson, the 49ers get Trey Lance, the Falcons get Justin Fields, the Bears move up to get Mac Jones. So 5 quarterbacks back to back to back to back to back. The Dolphins take Jalen Waddle, the Lions take Jamar Chase, the Panthers take Kyle Pitts. The Broncos move up the Bengals move up to get Penei Sewell. The Cowboys take Jalen Phillips, Giants Micah Parsons, Eagles Rashawn Slater, Chargers Devontae Smith, Vikings Kwity Paye. The Patriots trade their pick to the Titans, who select J.C. Horn, and then the Cardinals select Patrick Surtain. So those are my first 16 picks. So let's round things out with picks 17 through 32. So with pick 17, the Las Vegas Raiders, so back-to-back corners just went J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain. I'm going to go 3 corners in a row. Caleb Farley, cornerback, Virginia Tech. They just took Arnett a season ago. That cornerback room still is not ideal, and I know that there have been some injuries for Caleb Farley, but had there not been injuries, Farley's probably the first corner taken off the board in this draft. Explosive athlete. It just floats when covering players. He can flip his hips. He can play man. He can play zone. Tremendous football player, and just the type of player that Mike Mayock is definitely going to want in his locker room, on his team. They would definitely get better from a coverage standpoint, assuming all things are healthy with Caleb Farley. So the third cornerback back to back to back, in this case with the Las Vegas Raiders. Pick 18. With all those corners going off the board, the Colts decide to move up and make a trade with the Dolphins to move up a few slots and make sure that they get the next cornerback on the board, breaking Packer fans' hearts in many cases. And that means Greg Newsome from Northwestern is off the board. Newsome goes to the Colts at pick 18 to help solidify a cornerback room that's definitely had its issues. They got Xavier Rhodes back, but he's not a long-term answer for them. So they answer one of their major question marks in that secondary by picking up Greg Newsome from Northwestern. Number 19, the Washington football team takes Tevin Jenkins at offensive tackle. They traded away Trent Williams a couple years ago. They still got Morgan Moses kicking at right tackle. They need some youth and talent at this position. I would be shocked if Washington doesn't go offensive tackle here. Maybe it's Christian Darrisaw. Maybe it's Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. Could be a variety of players, but I'm going to go Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle from OK State here for the Washington football team. Number 20, this is the Broncos pick. Remember, they traded back with the Bengals, who moved up. This was originally the Bears pick. And the Broncos take Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle from Michigan. They do have Garrett Bowles, but could use a long-term right tackle. So that is the answer here with Jalen Mayfield. Mayfield fills in across from Bowles and gives them a very athletic, young, talented tackle duo going forward for whenever they do ultimately address that quarterback position, or if they find out that Drew Lock maybe can be the guy, although that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case for the time being. The Dolphins moved down from their pick with the trade with the Colts and pick here at pick 21, and they're going to pick Travis Etienne, running back from Clemson. And yes, that's high for a running back, and maybe a couple other running backs could even go ahead of Etienne, but don't overthink the idea that teams like Miami with young quarterbacks that are still unproven, they want to do everything in their power to make things as comfortable as possible for their young quarterbacks. And if that's giving him an explosive running back in the backfield that has the ability to take it to the house anytime he touches the ball, Miami's really worked on their offensive line. They just grabbed Jalen Waddle with their 6th pick overall, with their first pick, to open things up down the field. Now you're giving in, Tua Tagovailoa, a explosive playmaker, in Travis Etienne at running back. Again, I don't love running backs at this point in the draft. I think it's too rich, but don't ever overestimate, teams trying to give their young quarterbacks, every weapon possible in order to be successful. If Miami left this draft with both Etienne and Jalen Waddle, they would certainly be setting up Tua for some level of success, or at least that's what they would hope. Number 22, the Patriots, after moving back in their trade with the Titans, they take safety Trevin Moehrig. This just seems like an ultimate Patriots move. They've got the McCourty brothers who have played some corner and safety. The Patrick Chung retired in the offseason. So this seems like an area of need, and it just seems like Trevin Moehrig would be a perfect fit for that Patriots defense, and just a no-brainer pick for the Patriots at pick 22 overall. Pick 23, the New York Jets. They continue to build around their offensive line, which they have tried the last couple of years to solidify. They take Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive lineman from USC. Could give them some versatility at tackle, but is going to slot in to offensive guard right away. And in my opinion, potentially be one of the best guards in football. Maybe not year one, but by year two, I think he has the ability to be in the conversation and should slot in as a really good starter from day one. Love Elijah Vera Tucker, and think that this would be a great pick for the Jets, especially long-term as they want to build that offensive line for Zach Wilson. They already got Mekhi Becton a season ago. Now starting with Becton and Elijah Vera Tucker, really great way to build that offensive line for Zach Wilson moving forward. Pick 24, the Steelers. I think they would have been a great pick for Elijah Vera Tucker. I think if he's not off the board, they could easily go in that direction. But I'm going to go Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle for Virginia Tech. They still have major quarterback issues, but listen, if you don't have the quarterback, or at least the long-term quarterback, they're going to go with Big Ben this season. You better make sure that you can protect the hell out of the quarterback and give him weapons. And I think Christian Darrisaw will buy, for now, Ben Roethlisberger a little bit more time, and potentially be an answer for that offensive line long-term for the Steelers. Pick 25, the Jacksonville Jaguars, wide receiver Rashad Bateman, wide receiver in Minnesota. Remember, they get Trevor Lawrence with their first pick. And again, this is all about providing weapons for your young quarterback. Now they get Rashad Bateman to go along with him. Him with DJ Chark, with Laviska Shenault in the slot, provides a ton of opportunity for weapons for Trevor Lawrence. So really like this as a pick that could go wide receiver here for the Jaguars. Maybe they could go at Kadarius Toney, but I feel like, already having a Laviska Shenault in the slot, it doesn't make a ton of sense. I think Bateman gives him a crisp route runner on the outside that can go and play the opposite of DJ Chark, who is that vertical threat. You've got your intermediate slot guy in Laviska Shenault, just weapons upon weapons, along with James Robinson at running back. Would love that offense as a really fun offense for Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence moving forward. Pick 26, Cleveland Browns. You look at the depth chart of their team, there's not a ton that they are missing, but what they really need is youth, talent, and speed at inside linebacker. I'm going to go here with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I'm probably butchering the name, but safety, linebacker, slot player. He does a little bit of everything. He would immediately give that defense a real shot in the arm with just his pure athleticism. I think they would find a way to uniquely use him. And again, they don't have a ton of holes on their defense. So even if he just came in and pitched in as a sub-package player, player, and they use him in a bunch of unique ways as a matchup or chess piece. I think there's a lot of ways that the Browns would benefit by getting him out on the field on defense. And again, it's one of the only things they're missing is speed in the middle of their defense. They pick up Anthony Walker as an inside linebacker from the Colts. Good player, but more of a rundown player, not a great coverage guy. I think teaming those two and almost platooning them would make a lot of sense for the Browns. So I'm going to go Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, however you say it, linebacker / safety from Notre Dame. Baltimore Ravens, they need pass rush badly. I'm going to go Azeez Ojulari from the University of Georgia. I think he provides a really nice mix of talent and upside. I think, he wouldn't have to come in right away and be an immediate impact player for them. They did bring back Pernell McPhee, Tyus Bowser, but they need an influx of talent at that position. I think Ojulari gives them the perfect benefit of somebody who can help out a little bit now, but has tremendous upside. And I really like that pick. They got to find somebody that can rush the passer better from the outside. I think Ojulari here is a great fit for them. Saints 28th overall. I'm going Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, Florida. Does that just not feel like a New Orleans Saints pick? And remember, they're probably going to do a lot of gadget stuff with Taysom Hill. Now you've got Kamara in the backfield. You can use Kadarius Toney and jet sweeps and motions and all that stuff. You can do keepers with Taysom Hill, hand off to Alvin Kamara. You've got Michael Thomas on the outside. A lot of unique things that they'd be able to do with that offense in New Orleans. And I think, when you don't have the high-end quarterback, you've got to have players where you can just get the ball in their hands and let them do the heavy lifting. Kadarius Toney's a player that can do the heavy lifting. I think that makes a ton of sense for the Saints with where they're at with their current roster. And it just seems like such an obvious New Orleans Saints pick in that Sean Payton offense. Number 29, Green Bay Packers. We are trading down, just what you wanted to hear, right? Just a couple picks, though. The Kansas City Chiefs move up 2 picks. Green Bay gets the 140th pick overall from the Chiefs, a comp pick in the 4th round, just to move back 2 spots. The Chiefs grab Liam Eichenberg, offensive tackle from Notre Dame. They desperately need help on the offensive tackles and just on their overall offensive line depth. I think Eichenberg could be someone who could come in and play from day one for them if they need him to, and they probably need him to. So Chiefs make sure they secure an offensive tackle that can come in and potentially play right away. And Eichenberg, Packers pick up a extra 4th round pick in the process and only move down 2 spots. Bills at pick 30 take Jason Owa, edge from Penn State. No better player to mentor Jason Owa for a year than Jerry Hughes, who was also a super ultra athletic edge rusher who was not refined at all coming out of TCU. I think he would be the perfect mentor for Owa, but at the same time, Hughes is getting up in age. They don't know what they have in AJ Epinesa yet. They could use an influx of talent at the edge rusher position, and we saw the teams that were successful last year were teams that could get to the quarterback. You saw what Tampa Bay was able to do in their playoff run. I think some of those teams, Green Bay, and obviously Buffalo and just all those teams are going to be looking to solidify their pass rush to try to make that jump and have a very similar success rate that Tampa did last year. So I'm going to go Bills, Jason Owa, edge from Penn State. That brings us now to the Packers, pick 31 overall. They are going to select cornerback. Wait for it. Kelvin Joseph out of the University of Kentucky. And let me say, this is not what I would do in this situation, but this seems like such a Green Bay Packers move, right? So first of all, redshirt sophomore, still really young, oozing with potential, maybe not ready to play right away. Former LSU player, transferred to Kentucky. If he stays in college one more year, he very well may be the consensus number 1 corner in next year's draft, potentially a top 10, top 15 pick. He is fluid. He is talented. He is long. He is athletic. He was one of the only players that had any success against the University of Alabama, had an interception covering Devontae Smith. To me, he is a early to mid 2nd round grade, boom bust type of prospect. All the athleticism and talent in the world, just has to put everything together. And that is exactly the type of player that Green Bay ultimately loves to take chances on in the 1st round. Somebody that if you hit on him, he's potentially a top 10, top 15 corner in the league. I still think he's going to be good almost no matter what. Like I think he has good enough floor where it's not just like he's going to be awesome or terrible. But it just seems like such a Green Bay pick. SEC school, SEC corner, high level of success, hasn't put it fully together yet, but has every trait that you would want. Again, not what I would do, but definitely a corner that I could see Green Bay having interest in. Remember, Green Bay takes premium positions with their first pick: quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive lineman, edge rusher, cornerback. Those are it. So narrow it down almost always to those 5 spots. They've gone off the track a couple times, but about 95% of the time, it's going to be one of those 5 positions. In this position, I've said all along, I think offensive line makes the most sense for them in the first round, but I'm going to go with Kelvin Joseph here from the University of Kentucky. And then last but not least, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They continue to solidify their defensive line. It was such a huge part of what they did a season ago. And they're going to go with Levi Onwuzurike from defensive tackle from Washington. One of the tough parts, I have in the past always watched the cut-ups because I didn't have access to all 22 tape, and you're able to learn their names because you're hearing the announcers announce their games. When you're just watching all 22 tape of players, there's no announcing or anything. So like you don't learn their names as well. And I'm too lazy to go up and look at like the pronunciation. So until I start watching like the actual game tape cut-ups, I butcher these names. So I apologize to Levi Big O here that I'm probably not pronouncing his last name correctly. But last but not least here, Buccaneers take Levi out of Washington, defensive tackle, and continue to solidify their defensive line. So in closing, Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence; Jets, Zach Wilson; 49ers, Trey Lance; Falcons, Justin Fields. The Bears move up to get Mac Jones; Dolphins, Jalen Waddle; Lions, Jamar Chase; Panthers, Kyle Pitts; Broncos to the Bengals. Bengals move up and get Penny Sewell. Cowboys get Jalen Phillips. Giants, Micah Parsons. Eagles, Rashawn Slater. Chargers, Devontae Smith. Vikings, Kwity Paye. Titans get J.C. Horn. Cardinals get Patrick Surtain. The Raiders get Caleb Farley. The Colts get Greg Newsome. The Footballers get Tevin Jenkins. The Broncos get Jalen Mayfield. The Dolphins get Travis Etienne. The Patriots get Trayvon Moehrig. The Jets get Elijah Vera Tucker. Steelers select Christian Darrisaw. Jaguars, Rashad Bateman. Browns, Jeremiah Owusu-Koromo. Ravens, Azeez Ojulari. Saints, Kadarius Toney. The Chiefs get Liam Eichenberg. The Bills get Jason Owa. The Packers get Kelvin Joseph. And the Bucks get Levi Onwuzurike from the University of Washington. That's going to do it for me. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be right back here tomorrow. Until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.